The sunlight filtered gently through the frosted window panes of a cozy apartment, as soft white snow cascaded down in delicate flakes outside. 8-year-old Serafina, her big brown eyes wide with wonder, pressed her cheek against the chilly glass and gazed at the world beyond, tangled in a serene hush. The entire neighborhood had turned into a winter wonderland, transforming the everyday grind of life into something magical that only children seem to perceive fully. In the small kitchen, the unmistakable aroma of freshly baked cinnamon rolls and hot cocoa filled the air, wrapping Serafina's home in warmth and comfort. Her mother, Beatrice, carefully stirred a bubbling pot on the stove, singing an off-key tune that resonated with the festive atmosphere. Nearby, Serafina's father, Nathaniel, was crouched in front of their modestly decorated tree, a tiny artificial pine adorned with colorful ornaments, adjusting a somewhat haphazardly placed ornament in the shape of a rabbit, Serafina's favorite creature. Suddenly, Serafina turned from the window, her face lighting up with curiosity. "Do you think Grandma will have a giant tree at her house?" she asked, tugging on the sleeve of Nathaniel's sweater. He chuckled gently and scooped her up, placing her on his lap while brushing a curl away from her forehead. "It's the most magnificent tree you can imagine, sweetheart," he assured her, his voice light, although he felt a dull ache stirring in his stomach. It wasn't just about the tree, but about the invitation they had received weeks ago. A crisp family letter penned in his mother's familiar yet distant script. It read, "We would be delighted to host you and your family this year for Christmas." Not a word was mentioned about Beatrice or Serafina, just a command from the past, "Your family." Beatrice had read the note twice. She could still recall how it had made her feel. Uneasiness filled the air between them as she quietly wondered, "Are you sure this is wise?" Serafina was young, filled with wonder and love, but their family's history held more tensions than holiday cheer. "I don't know," Nathaniel had replied, uncertainty edging into his voice. "But maybe it's an opportunity." Beatrice might not have been fully convinced, but for Serafina, the joy of being with family was worth the process of navigating the complicated layers of acceptance. A decade prior, Nathaniel had first laid eyes on Beatrice during a particularly dull college ethics class. She was vibrant, always an animated presence against his quiet reserve. Their love had blossomed subtly but profoundly, and they wed with full awareness of the silent, simmering animosities within his family. Even on the day of their wedding, his parents' facial expressions festered with obliviousness to the sanctity of the moment. They were present, yes, yet casual and disconnected, refusing to engage with Beatrice, almost as if she was merely an inconvenience. Years had passed in much the same manner. Awkward holiday meals, hinting at unwelcoming sentiments, even in the carelessly crafted holiday cards that echoed sentiments of family while denoting anything but warmth. When they had struggled with infertility, facing the raw sorrow of miscarriages and the silent emptiness following unsuccessful IVF treatments, they pivoted toward the path of adoption. It became not a plan B, but plan A, as they sought to build the family they longed for. Through a local agency, they met Beatrix, an emotionally reserved 5-year-old girl, shaped by experiences that would have broken most. Their first outing had carried a hushed ambiguity. Beatrix had said little, but on a walk in the park, she had clasped Beatrice's hand. That moment had transformed everything. Within mere weeks, she was calling Beatrice Mom effortlessly, and Nathaniel Dad with an instinctual ease that filled their home with joy. Yet, Nathaniel's parents remained emotionally disengaged, disallowing what they could not understand. His mother's polite demeanor did little to mask the discomfort with Beatrix's presence, addressing her with forced niceness and minimal attention. With Christmas drawing nearer, Nathaniel anxiously prepped for what was to come. Late nights were spent wrapping gifts in recycled paper tied with vibrant strings and carefully labeling each one with Beatrix's name. He found a gorgeous dress for her embellished with tiny gold stars, yet beneath these preparations, doubts lingered. In the privacy of the night, he contemplated taking a DNA test, needing an assurance that she truly was his daughter, but deep down he knew without question. This was his child. Beatrice, on her end, was tirelessly focused on making sure Beatrix felt loved. As she packed their bags, she also prepared a cache of thoughtful gestures, extra gifts for overlooked cousins, stories to share focused on inclusion, and, of course, enough snacks to satisfy any sweet tooth. Seraphina's laughter filled the air as she described her fantasies about caroling and playing in the fresh snow with several cousins she had not yet met. The day before their departure, in a moment of stillness, Beatrix was found creating a string of paper snowflakes for her grandmother, announcing gleefully that they were going to hang them at her window. "Snowflakes just for Grandma," she'd said with sparkling eyes, radiating warmth that contrasted sharply with Beatrice's emotional preparation for possible rejection. As the morning dawned filled with tension and unspoken words, they made their way north. Driving through expansive forests and fields cloaked in white, the atmosphere turned lighter as Christmas tunes filled the car. Seraphina, in her vibrant new dress, seemed blissfully unaware of the weighted histories between the generations. However, as they approached the house, a chill returned to Nathaniel's bones as he parked. "Is that Grandma's house?" Beatrix whispered, her voice barely above a murmur. "Yes, it is," he replied, his heart racing with an anxious flutter. The door swung open before they could knock. His mother stood there in a tailored wool coat that contrasted the light in her eyes. She acknowledged Nathaniel first, embracing him before offering a stiff nod to Beatrice. "Hello, Beatrix. How delightful to finally meet you," she intoned, her voice lacking any fairy dust. As she accepted a handmade card Beatrix had made, the warmth emanating from her should have been comforting, but it felt stark against the backdrop of unwelcoming spirits. Inside, the house buzzed with voices, echoes of laughter bouncing off the walls, but none of these joyful sounds mingled with Beatrix's presence. No mention of her name in the holiday cheers as they gathered around the massive evergreen adorned with glistening ornaments. Beatrix radiated curiosity, expressing awe at the splendid decorations, but not a single stocking hung for her. Nor was there a place card at the family dinner table. Dinner was an elaborate affair, yet as plates were passed, Seraphina felt a knot of tension build. No inquiries about Beatrix, her skills in the classroom, her favorite hobbies, what she wished for from Santa. She quietly joined in the chatter, but it was as if she were a ghost drifting through their celebration. Seen, but not acknowledged. Later that night, as everyone gathered around to play board games, Beatrix sat quietly, her sketches in hand, absorbed in her own world. Yet the unease was palpable, hovering around like a fog that prevented her from connecting with her cousins. Nathaniel's chest swelled with protective anger. How could they ignore his daughter? His eyes drifted toward Beatrice, who fought to maintain composure, but he could see her frustration simmer beneath. As whispers of desserts circulated, Beatrix returned to look out the window, cradling her fox plushie. Underlying pain pooled quietly within her. When evening waned and they settled down for the night, Beatrice lovingly tucked Beatrix into bed, whispering reassurances. But Beatrix's spirit felt heavy, burdened by the oppressive silence that hung around them. On Christmas morning, Beatrix woke early, excitement coursing through her veins. She crept silently from her cozy bed, glancing at the shimmering dress hanging by the door like an untold promise. As her heart swelled with joy, she slipped it over her head, smoothing the fabric down, while envisioning all they would unwrap beneath the tree. Morning light spilled through the house as adults began rustling. The room pulsated with life, and when they finally gathered in the living room surrounded by an ocean of precious gifts, Beatrix joined the merry group. Yet with each gift unwrapped, Beatrix's heart sank further. Each name read passed her by, a dreary weight sinking through her. When the last gift was opened and the commotion began to fade, Nathaniel's voice broke through his daughter's troubled calm. "Is there one for Beatrix that didn't make it out?" The room stilled. A cold bite settled in the air. Margaret, visibly annoyed, replied, "We only bought gifts for family." Nathaniel felt the world tilt on its axis, while the bright spark in Beatrix's eyes flickered out, replaced by confusion. His voice tremored as he replied, "She is family." The words hung in the air, pregnant with unsung emotions while silence reigned. In the room, no one defended Beatrix. No one disapproved of Margaret's words. They merely resumed their lives while the little girl moved to curl up in her chair near the open window, contemplating the scene outside in solitude. Breakfast was a hollow affair. Plates filled with feasts were mere specters around a table of ruffled spirits, and as the day melted away into the twilight, they made their way back to the guest room, Beatrix clutching her fox close, while her mother fought with the emotional tightness in her throat. That night, in the dim light of the guest room, Nathaniel sat atop the edge of the bed, staring at the manila folder brimming with documents meant to validate his daughter's place in their family. Each line contained a truth he didn't want to have to face. "I'm done," Nathaniel whispered into the stillness, making his presence known. "I've let her say too many things over the years that hurt, but not with my daughter." As he stepped outside into the snow-laden night, a quiet resolve washed over him. This time, darkness would not eclipse their lives any longer. Nathaniel stepped through the door of his childhood home, anxiety gripping him tightly as he entered, familiar scents washing over him, crisp air, sympathy among laughter, merely whispers hidden behind doors. "Mama, do you have time to talk?" he addressed his mother, laying the opened documents between them. Nathaniel's mother met his gaze, the weight of a haunting history resting on her shoulders. "You have the chance to be part of our family," he said firmly, while not allowing her any room for ambiguity. "But this will not come with conditions. Either you embrace her or do not meet at all." The silence that followed felt infinite, yet within it lay the foundation for rebirth, the opportunity to plant seeds of growing hope as sweat adorned her skin. Days moved forward in slow motion. Tension plagued the household in the hazy aftermath, while a persistent silence hung like fog tracing the edges of every forgotten past. Yet Serafina possessed none of such burdens. She grew joyful despite her surroundings, and found herself retreating within the world of art to gather the energy needed to heal. On the last night of the year, she whispered in Beatrice's ear, "I'll draw for her next time." The dawn of spring brightened the world around them. The heavy grip of winter thawed while flowers peeked out. With colorful blooms, they brought in their memories scattered along the way. With each passing day, darkness drifted, love replaced neglect, and Beatrix found herself surrounded by warmth and acceptance, each act of kindness replacing what had been kept in shadow. One bright afternoon, Beatrix sat absorbed in her coloring book when a letter slid into the mailbox, delivering a note penned by Margaret. It read, "I may stumble sometimes, but I am learning the value of love and kindness, and I realize how I want to embrace what it means to be family." Seraphina stood beside Bradenton as the afternoon sun streamed through their window. She returned a thoughtful smile, understanding that she too would forgive, not for others, but for herself. And as the pages of sketchbooks began to fill, hope glimmered like sunlight bouncing off the surface of freshly fallen snow. Time continued to march ahead, and when the Christmas season approached once more, hearts warmed rather than quivered. A gentle energy floated through their words, lighter than the snowflakes that danced outside, signifying the open arms that awaited them. And this Christmas would mark a true homecoming, not merely a season, but the merging of souls who had finally found their way back to one another. Beatrix would find herself at the center of their narratives, finally acknowledging that she, too, belonged right where she was meant to be. As they stowed the ornaments and garland into boxes, one soft smile lingered in silence, and from this point on, they would dance to the same melody of love woven into every moment. Because family, after all, does not wait for you to love them. They are simply there, waiting to embrace the love you choose to give.